What shocking thing happens to Jesus when he returns to his hometown? That's what we're going to talk about today in Luke 4. We begin right out of the gates here with Jesus being tempted right after being baptized. He returns back from the Jordan River and goes into the wilderness. And I've been to this wilderness. It's desolation. There is nothing there. It is a harsh landscape. I think it's very hard to survive there in general. And he fasts for 40 days. Now, people feel that this is the longest a human being can go without dying, without food. And so he is in the desert doing this. He is doing this as a dedication to God, as a spiritual act, as a spiritual strengthening. And this story in Luke is a little bit more condensed than it was in Matthew. But the core is still here. First, the devil, who knows he's the Son of God. So it says, if you're the Son of God, Satan says this. He's not saying if. He says, because you're the Son of God. So you're the Son of God, go ahead and turn this stone into bread. This is our first temptation. Jesus says, man does not live by bread alone. Every word that's uttered by God, that's what we're supposed to live on. He is not going to bow down to human hunger, human physical need to break God's purpose, his plan, anything like that. Next, Satan shows him all the kingdoms of the world. I'll give it all to you. All to you. Just bow down and worship me. He is saying, you don't have to go through all the things that you are about to go through. You can just bow down, worship me, and this will all be over. That happens. We're not saved. We're not free of our sin. We are still victims of sin and the devil on this earth. And Jesus says, worship the Lord your God and serve only him. There's no shortcut. He's not going to take it. And he's not going to skip out on the cross, take the easy way out just to inherit something. One, the devil doesn't even own. He does not own this whole world. He has no power to give it away. And it's not going to be given to him by the devil of all people. And then finally, Satan takes him to the temple in Jerusalem, about 400 feet up, in front of all these people who are there for worship. This would have been a big group of people who would have seen it. Throw yourself down. Angels will catch you. And this would have been glory, spectacle. People have been talking about Jesus for a long time. And Jesus says, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. This was said back in Exodus. This is something that God is firm on. You do not put God to the test. Jesus will also tell them the same as he's ministering in his career. He's not going to grab fame right now in order to become the most popular, famous rabbi who was able to jump from the top of the temple and live. These three temptations are physical needs, power, and glory. And Jesus is going to resist all of them. And then it says something kind of interesting in Luke, that when the devil ended every temptation, he departed from him until the opportune time. What's the opportune time? This line is in Matthew. It's not in Mark. What is that? Is that when Jesus is at that point of darkness in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he says God has abandoned him? Is it when Jesus is gone and his apostles are in despair? We don't know. That is an interesting question because when was that? So then Jesus goes back to Galilee and he's filled with the power and the word is spreading fast about him. He teaches in synagogues and everyone's praising him. And then he goes back to his hometown of Nazareth. And remember, he's the carpenter's boy. He is the kid you saw running in the streets. You know him. Everybody knows him. Nazareth at that time was not that big of a place. And so he goes into the synagogue, stands up, and is handed the scroll of Isaiah, where he starts to read, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and because he has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor, he has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty all those who are oppressed, and proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Now, that last part of the year of the Lord's favor has to do with the Jubilee. Every 50 years, debts would be forgiven. People who were indentured servants would be set free. It's kind of a reset for society. We talked about in the lineage of Matthew how there were 49 generations and that Jesus is the 50th generation. 50 is a number indicating that Jubilee. Jesus is going to be the ultimate jubilee, where the sins of our soul, where sins of this earth by all of humanity are broken. We're set free. We're set free from death. My pastor this morning talked about how when we look around, we see all the cemeteries that are around. We don't feel set free. We don't feel like death has lost its sting. But the truth of it is that it's a temporary state. Cemetery, I believe, is the Greek word for dormitory, which is what? A temporary place that you sleep. It's not your home. It's not where you're staying. It's just a temporary sleeping location. And that's it. Death is broken. It is fulfilled. And at the very end, Jesus says just that. He says, today the scripture is fulfilled in your hearing. Everyone stares at him. What is he claiming? He is claiming that he is going to be the one to set everyone free, that he was anointed to release everyone from their sins of death and their captivity to the devil. And everyone stares at him and starts asking, well, is this Joseph's son? They don't get it. And their familiarity with Jesus makes them dismiss him. And Jesus knows, because he knows everybody's hearts, what they're going to say. He says that no doubt that they'll start quoting to him, physician, heal thyself, meaning you think you can go around saving other people, you can't even save yourself. Or what you did in Capernaum, what you've been doing, do it here. Give us a miracle. And Jesus reminds them, a prophet is not accepted in his hometown. Mostly prophets got killed in their hometown. He reminds them of a story that there was a terrible famine that happened in Israel, and he was sent to the home of a widow who was a Gentile, and her name was Zarephath. And she stayed with her and gave her a promise that if you feed me, you will have more than what you need. She had to step out on a ledge to give her last meal that her and her son would have. And she did so, and that provided her and her son nourishment, along with Elijah, for a long period of time. And that in the land of Israel, at that same time, there were a lot of people who had leprosy, and there was only one leper who was healed from his leprosy, and that was leper Naaman, and he was from Syria, another Gentile. So we had someone in Sidon, we had someone in Syria, but who was not fed and who was not healed? The Jewish people in that horrible time and famine. Mercy, God's mercy, is not just to one group of people, it's for everybody. A Gentile woman was fed and a Gentile was healed of leprosy. This is about to turn for everyone. And it said at this point, the crowd turned on Jesus. They were thrilled with him and interested and sort of enraptured by him for a moment, and now they're angered because he is claiming that this fulfillment of the Messiah, this blessing that God is going to give, is not only coming from him, but is going to be given to outsiders, not just to the people of Israel. They tried to drive him out of the temple. There's a cliff inside of the town that, if you go to the bottom of the cliff, there are bones down there. People were thrown off this cliff or forced off this cliff before. But Jesus instead ended up, it says, passing through their midst. Somehow it was a miracle. Did he disappear? Did he fade into the crowd? Were they disoriented by their own fury? Whatever way it was, Jesus passes through them, leaves Nazareth, and heads to Capernaum. And now Capernaum is going to be his headquarters. Now it's Sabbath, and he's doing teaching with authority. And people were astonished about this. And something happened that a possessed man starts shouting out, "What do you have to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us?" Meaning this demon. "We know who you are, the Holy One of God." And Jesus silences him. "Be quiet and come out of him." The demons throw this man down, doesn't harm him, and the demons leave. And it said that the crowd was stunned. What is this? Demons? Unclean spirits come out of people at his command? And so the word now starts spreading fast about Jesus. This is going to be the first miracle that's mentioned in Luke, and it happens right there, right in the synagogue. And the demon identified Jesus for who he was. Jesus heads over to Simon's house. That's going to be Peter's house. And his mother-in-law is sick, high fever. They ask Jesus for help. He stands over her, rebukes the fever, and it leaves her. Immediately she gets up and she starts serving them, fully restored. And it's kind of funny when if you watch The Chosen, she pops right out of bed and starts giving him a meal. And that is God. He has power over the demons. He has power over the wages of sin, which is illness and death. And at that night, the sun sets and people from all over start bringing the sick to him. Demons come out. And a lot of people who are brought to them, sick people, demon-possessed people, the demons come out shouting, "You are the Son of God." But he won't let them speak. He's not ready to let the word get out of who exactly he is. They know who he is, but their message is for a later time. So the next morning, Jesus goes to a quiet place to pray, but people are following him everywhere. And of course, you would too. If you saw a man doing what Jesus was doing, you'd follow him anywhere. And so he says, I must go preach the good news to the kingdom of God to other towns also. I was sent here for a purpose. And so he moves on. He keeps preaching throughout Judea. Judea is going to be half of the kingdom of Israel. The other half is going to be Samaria at this point. We'll talk about Samaria in just a bit. Boy, what I'm going to meditate on is how Jesus reads that portion of Isaiah, announces the arrival of God's salvation, and people can't handle it. You know, when people are given exactly what they've been waiting for 440 years, when they are given relief from their sin, relief from death, release from the devil, they just can't take it. They're offended by it. And they're even more offended by it when it includes people that aren't them, outsiders. And so they're enraged about their salvation. And so we have to realize salvation is for everyone. And I had to think, what is it in me that challenges me? Am I challenged by anything that God promises that I think's not fair? Some people think that it might not be fair that they were a Christian their entire lives and someone who's on their deathbed confesses Christ in their last moment of life goes to heaven. The thief on the cross at that last moment, he's not going to go through the persecution that the apostles are going to go through. He didn't travel with Jesus these last 3.5 years, and he just gets to go. Maybe the first person to die after Jesus defeats death. We all have something that hangs us up. What if you saw your worst enemy on your first day in heaven? Now, we'll be happy then because we'll be free of sin, but what would you think of it now? So we have a lot to think about that. And what I'm praying for is that I always have that humility that allows me to change, that allows me not to push back when God is pointing out something that I need to confront, pointing out a message to me that I need to hear, and instead I have that humility to take it in. And what I'm going to share with others is that Jesus came to bring the good news to the poor, freedom to the captives, sight to the blind, release for the oppressed, but for the Jews, for the Gentiles, for everybody. People we think deserve it, people we think don't deserve it. That's not for us. God sees that this is a message for everyone. Life is going to be okay in the end because God saves us. But there are truly people in this world who are oppressed, broken, and trapped. He came for those people too. We're supposed to be about preaching God's freedom to everybody. All right, everyone, thanks so much. Appreciate you listening to this. Please know that you can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. You can watch this on YouTube. You can also leave comments in the chat channel, communicate with me. Let me know how you're doing in this slow roll through the Bible. Thanks so much for being a part of this walkthrough.